This is the age of information, they tell us, and it does not seem that they are wrong. Information is everywhere and coming at us from all sides at breakneck speed. I find myself craving it sometimes. I want to learn all I can about how things work, the universe, or my smartphone, or even our bodies. I crave information. I'm a news addict. I could watch the news again and again, and I do. If we are on the hour, even in the middle of the night, I will turn on the news on the radio while I'm going to the bathroom. Totally. This is the age of information. News 24/7. As we listen to the newscaster's report, we can even read information on the ribbon at the bottom of the screen and on the station's website. We can get the real-time game scores on multiple handheld devices and find out anything we want to know in a matter of seconds on the internet. Information itself is an industry. But is all this information really feeding us? Aren't most of us still very hungry? We are fed by all kinds of information, but often the information we get, most of the information is only empty calories. Most information that bombards us every day is not going to make us better persons. To get to the heart of what's happening in this gospel story that's told in all four Gospels, let me share a brief poem by a poet named David White entitled, appropriately enough, Loaves and Fishes. This is not the age of information. This is not the age of information. Forget the news and the radio and the blurred screen. This is the time of loaves and fishes. People are hungry, and one good word is bread for 1,000. One good word is bread for 1,000. White's poem invites us to go deeper into John's story of the multiplication of the loaves, beyond the physical hunger that most of us seldom feel anymore, to the hungers of our common humanity. His words are startling. This is not the age of information. This is not the age of information. This poet, like Jesus, is telling us something radical here. In this gospel story, the people did not follow Jesus and the other disciples to the other side of that vast sea and climb halfway up a mountain to be given physical bread. They followed because there was something about his words that had touched their heart, something that impressed something upon them, perhaps impressed by the wonder it created in them to listen as he spoke, to hear him teach, inspired to look beyond their oppression and their poverty, which was awful in Jesus' day. Ultimately, they were looking for hope, a reason to get up in the morning. What they got was a miracle. What they got was a miracle of transformation. Anybody here ever listened to the radio podcast called Radio Lab? If you've ever heard Radio Lab, oh, you guys got to listen to this sometime. It's some great information. But I got to tell you, I just can't get over how packaged it is, and it's packaged in this most fascinating way, and I really like it. And my friends and I shoot segments that struck us back and forth constantly. More information and packaged beautifully. The hosts came to WashU recently, just recently, and some of us had a fascinating conversation with the two of them after their presentation. An extended conversation, actually. And one of the things I was just dying to ask them as a preacher in this sort of way was really, and I mean this with all my heart, is there any place in the world left for this kind of a forum for teaching? Really, is there anything left like this? Is there any place in the world where just a guy like me who doesn't know a whole lot about a lot of stuff and sins all the time, to stand up here and preach when it seems that this generation especially needs all the bells and whistles that keep this generation engaged, entertained? I mean, can transformation happen here in the simplicity of what is happening here right now between you and me? I look at the successful, quote-unquote, successful Protestant churches. They call them mega churches now, 30,000 people. I look at, the other day I was moving through channels to find the news again. And there was Joel Osteen, preaching, and I looked at the crowd. I mean, it was Busch Stadium. It was like amazing. There had to be 30,000 people there. And I go, gosh, what am I doing wrong? So I asked these guys if this can still work. I mean, these are professional information entertainers, and I'm hooked. And to my surprise, they said it can, actually, he said. It really can work. There is a place for the simplicity of this. The simplicity of this that really goes back to the beginning, what happened in this very gospel story when they went to Jesus to learn, and he saw them and he recognized their hunger and he sat down on a rock and began to teach. For gathering folks who want to be here and do my best to share an insight or another, like Jesus tried to do in this gospel, when he could just tell they were hungry to learn, and to learn something substantial that could almost in itself be a portal for people, a portal into a whole another world. To my relief, actually, really, because I'm too old to learn how to do all those bells and whistles, it was to my relief to hear that one of them added, it can totally work. It can totally work. But, he said, Padre, the total burden is on you. You better have something to say. That's the hardest part, isn't it, Phil? And I got to tell you, in some ways I disagree with his last statement, though I totally accept that responsibility. And for 38 years, some 42, 45 Sundays a year, I've written homilies and preached them the best I can. I swear to God it's the best I could do for however it ended up. And I totally accept this responsibility in my life. Preaching is so powerful to me, that's why it moves me a lot. But I would add one thing to that the total burden is not on me. It's not on the speaker alone. It's not on the preacher. Unless this is just pure entertainment. And that would break my heart. I really don't want to entertain you. The biggest piece I find is are you here to be entertained? Are you here for more information? Or have you come here this morning to be transformed in some way or another? Do you want me to just batten down the hatches on what you already believe and what you already think and how you already live and give you reasons for doing what you've already done so that you can leave here and do business as usual and treat people like you did the hour before you came in here? I want to share with you the best affirmation I ever received in 38 years of preaching. And I say this, and I trust you know I'm not boasting, because this is totally not a boast. I know that it's a two-way thing, and if people change, the way is out there, it's not here. One woman, and some of you know this already, one woman in her late 70s took in a foster child who had pretty severe issues. She was white, he was African American. He was a young teenager. And when she shared this with me, I was a bit shocked, and I was frankly worried about this and what it would be like for her. But her response to me was, Gary, how can I come here Sunday after Sunday and listen to you week after week and not do this? Honestly, the credit goes to her for being one of those who listened not for information, but transformation. Both Jesus and the poet say, people are hungry. People are hungry. And that's just not about you and me here and you coming here hungry and me being the feeder. Everywhere you go in your life, you are surrounded by people who are hungry for one good word. What seems so meager to those folks, or especially to Jesus and his disciples, a couple of loaves and fish, became food. It became food. That meagerness became food. One good word is bread, the poet writes. One good word is bread for 1,000. The miracle of multiplication seems to happen when we each have the courage to share that one good word, one with another, not just here, but out there at your kitchen table and at work and in your neighborhood. When we listen for just that one good word that will transform us, we are so locked into this conversation because we want that from this. And then we can become God's word. We can be the ones who every once in a while share that one good word for one of those people who are so hungry, like us, to know it. It's so true, and you know it. People are hungry for more than just food. They're hungry for justice. They're hungry for peace. They're hungry for a reason to get up tomorrow morning and do it all over again. They're hungry for companionship. They're hungry for meaning. They're hungry for community. They're hungry for hope. And they're hungry for love, to be loved and to have opportunities to love. In this gospel story, the people did not follow Jesus to the other side of that vast sea to be given physical bread. They followed because they were inspired. They wanted that one good word, not knowing for sure what this was all about. The miracle was not information, it was transformation. It was that one good word that gave them a reason to think differently than before they crossed that sea. Learning that enables us to act differently tomorrow than we did yesterday. Being more awake to life from that one good word that can happen here or in any conversation ever in our lives. The one good word that would leave us more awake and more aware of everything around us all the time. The one good word that helps us to see what we never, ever really saw before that was right in front of our eyes. That's what they went there for. Can you imagine that if we could be that for people, and if we would look for that in people, how different those dinner conversations would be? No more just sharing information, no more gossip. The one good word that could change somebody's life. Forget the news and the radio and the blurred screen. This is the time of loaves and fishes. This summer, after 38 years of preaching, I spent more time than I've ever spent actually in a summer being alone, going for long walks, thinking about stuff, reading more spiritual reading. Because I owe it to you, it's my responsibility to you to come to that in myself and from those others who teach me so much. And to be able to share that with you means the world to me, because I love you. I just want to encourage you as the summer starts to end to take some time these summer's days to go for those longer walks if you can, thinking about stuff. I hope we all do some extra spiritual reading, sitting on our hammocks, laying in our hammocks in the backyard, or sitting on the back deck more. I hope we all get out of or go out of our way to hear a talk by someone perhaps who thinks differently than we do, or read a book by someone who thinks differently than we do, or participate in some more cultural experiences around the city than we've given ourselves so far, or do an act of service we've never done before in a neighborhood we've never been in before. We owe it to ourselves. But even more, we owe it to each other. And I guess if we're hungry enough, we will. One good word.